Good morning and welcome to this week's Elevenses. My name is Kelsey. I'm a YouTube specialist and lead our UK and Irish teams on YouTube with a focus on action.
Morning, my name is Richard. I'm one of the video specialists in UK team.
And today we're going to be talking to you about YouTube, specifically how you can turn intent into action with some of our new YouTube for Action products. Now, before we get to the new stuff, we want to take a quick look back at where we've been. So since we started showing ads on YouTube back in 2007, there's been a huge evolution in terms of the number of users and creators and uploads. And specifically what we want to look at today is the evolution in user behavior. When people started watching ads and YouTube back in 2007, the only real option was to watch ads on desktop. Then we had the evolution towards mobile devices, being able to stream back to your living room. And now we're at this multi-platform world where people can seamlessly switch between a phone and a tablet and a desktop and an Xbox and a TV and have the same experience. And what we know is that this is continuing to shift. So if we look at this today, we currently have more than 1.9 billion monthly logged in users on YouTube. And those 1.9 billion users are watching more than an hour a day of YouTube on just their mobile device alone. That doesn't include the time that's being watched on things like a desktop or a TV. And this is only going to continue to shift. In fact, Cisco has said that by 2021, less than 2 years away, we expect 82% of all consumer internet traffic to be made up of digital video. That means that 82% of your potential customers' time is going to be spent watching videos online. What happens if you're not there? Now, to put that into perspective, that's 82% is the equivalent of 5 million years of video content consumed online every single month. That's a lot of content. And so at Google, what we realized was that there was a huge shift towards people watching videos, but not everybody necessarily was able to track or interested in tracking the traditional video metrics, things like views or impressions. They wanted to stick with their action-oriented objectives that they had been tracking on things like their search campaigns. So what we did was introduced a new product called YouTube for Action that does exactly that, allows you to show video ads with a focus on action. So these products, what we decided to do was build on that foundation that we've had more than a decade of experience with and add 3 new things to make the ad really action-focused. So the first is we wanted to make it really easy for people to actually to reach people based on their intent. So users who were ready to take action. And we added in a bunch of new signals, including Google search for the first time ever. The second is we wanted to make it really easy for them to take action. So it's not just about those views and impressions and reach anymore. It's how can I actually get someone to convert from the ad itself or get to my website and then convert. And finally, the action bit of action. We want to track performance and optimize towards those business goals. So this involved a huge overhaul to the backend system to be able to accurately track conversions from YouTube, and then introducing new bidding strategies that enable you to bid towards conversions instead of just views and impressions. So when we're creating this new product, what we did was ask ourselves, what would happen if you could reach an audience on YouTube after they had just searched for what you had to offer on Google? We know that search isn't going away, that's continuing to grow, and it's still a great driver of intent. But we know that the user journey doesn't stop there. It's long and complex, and it's only one part of the journey. In fact, about 55% of people will go to search for something on Google, then go to YouTube to learn more about it before they actually make that purchase. And what we also know is that even really strong search campaigns can miss undecided shoppers. Let's take a quick example of a search campaign here. Let's say you've got a 10% click-through rate. That's a really well-run search campaign. It's well above the best practice click-through rate. But what that also means is that 90% of people who are searching for your brand, for your product, for your keywords, can't actually find you with what you're currently doing. And we also know that, unfortunately, not everybody converts the first time they get to your website. In fact, about 96% of people will leave a site the first time that they visit without converting. So what we have here are really well-run campaigns with some leftover really strong signals of intent. And this is where we can pull in YouTube. There's a huge overlap between people who are searching on Google and people who are reachable on YouTube. And we can pull in these really strong signals of intent to target them on a new platform. And of course, you're doing this on a new platform with video. You have the chance to explain and to show off your business. You can use sight and sound to tell a story about why your business is the business that they should be buying from. It's a lot more interactive than just text on a screen. And with this, you're also giving people the ability to actually take action with new formats. Again, how can I get someone to my website or convert them directly from the ad itself? And finally, you're doing all of this on a platform where people are really paying attention. If you're going to take the time and energy and effort to develop a video and to build a campaign, you want to make sure people are paying attention, because if they're not, it's probably not going to be effective. So what we do know is that people are 2 times more likely to pay attention to an ad on YouTube versus another social platform. They're 3 times more likely to pay attention to an ad online versus on TV. And 95% of all ads on YouTube are viewable and watched with the sound on. Now, I want to pause here because viewability is something that's really important as you start to get into digital video. It's a definition set by the digital marketing industry. It's not a Google term. And what that says is, specifically for video, you have to see at least half of the pixels on screen for 2 seconds. Now, YouTube is at 95%. The industry benchmark is about 66%, and other platforms can be as low as 30%. So 95%, something we're really proud of.
So if you're running any video on other platforms as well, do ask and do have a look at what your viewability is, because that essentially means if people actually see your campaigns and your creative.
Exactly. Yes. And then finally, 95% of ads are watched with the sound on, which is going to be really important in both driving home your message and something to consider when you're looking at curative. And finally, then, we are talking about action, so we want to look at results. So within the last 12 months since releasing this platform, we've seen 150% year-on-year growth in conversions generated from YouTube ads. So it works as well. So I'm going to turn it over to Richard to talk through how we can use YouTube for Action to drive results. And he's going to walk you through 4 things. First, take a quick look at audiences and how you can actually reach people based on their intent. Second, take a look at the new format that we have available and how you can use those to drive action. Third, look at the action bit of action and how you can track performance and measure different kinds of actions. And then finally, last but not least, is the creative. It's really important to optimize your creative towards direct response. He'll spend a bit of time on that.
Perfect. Thanks. So let's continue on then. First of all, reaching audiences are most likely to do business with you. So we have our traditional Google targeting that we know. We'll go into that in a detail and some new changes. But what we've introduced is real-time intent signals from Google Search, because Google Search communicates intent for the user, be it upper funnel or lower funnel, even brand searches themselves. So this is a great signal to layer the audience and understand which users are better suited for your campaigns. So we've built new and improved audiences based on intents and interests of these audiences. So let's have a look. So we improved affinity and in-market segments. So for those of you who do not know, so affinity is a general interest the user might have towards a specific topic or an activity. So for example, people that like cooking at home or interested in specific sports. In-market segment would be users that show commercial intent. For example, searching for buying-related keywords for products and services, reading online reviews, or doing price comparison.
Yeah, and to clarify here, these aren't new audiences, but what we've done is made them better. So we've added in new signals to improve both the reach and the accuracy by about 15%.
Perfect. And continuing on, a new type of audience is life event audiences. So basically it's reaching people during major life milestones like getting married, moving, or graduating college. So for some advertisers that are specifically interested in users that are in this kind of stage of change, for example, this could be very valuable type of targeting. And then for these users to be offered a service or a product that would be relevant to their interests. Then also we have consumer pattern audiences, so users that show specific type of behavior. So for example, people that frequently buy items in grocery shops or department or convenience stores, frequent restaurant goers, and more. And as mentioned, custom intent audiences. So reaching audiences on YouTube who have recently searched for your keywords on Google. This could be category keywords, brand, or something that's a bit more upper funnel. We've seen about 30% greater conversion rate from these custom intent audiences versus other audience targeting. And just to also remind, these are just a few of the newer audiences we have introduced. There's various other targeting methods for YouTube campaign, be it topics, keywords, or anything else. So continuing on.
Yeah, so let's take a look at a quick example here. There's a number of different ways that you can use audiences, and as Richard said, we're not limited to just these, but what you want to do is make sure that you're picking an audience that aligns with your goal. So with Vavavoom, they actually wanted to use YouTube to drive sales. Now, I know traditionally that would not be something that we'd use, but it is something you can do with action. So what they did was use custom intent, so targeting based on those keyword searches, and in market audiences, people who are actively looking to buy their products. So they set a goal of a 10-to-1 ROAS for the YouTube campaign, and were able to achieve 1,409% ROAS. So I'd say it was pretty successful.
For sure. And continuing on, in terms of True for Action, it accomplishes two key objectives. It introduces your business and drives action. So video ad formats and extensions are built to drive this action directly from the video views, not perhaps later on in the day, but actually directly from the video, as you see in examples below. So the first one, drive custom site conversions. This is how a True for Action ad looks like. A lot of clickable interface and elements. It does not rush the user after the ad is finished, and allows you to customize that text and drive user to take a specific action.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that is completely customizable as well. So it says learn more, you can do shop now, get now. My personal favorite is get pizza.
And then we also have an example of acquiring leads. Currently, this is a beta, but it's perfect for lead gen clients. So here's an example of a user choosing to ask the advertiser, send them more info, so they can give their email address to the advertiser that will follow up, and essentially a lead has been sourced.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the great thing about this one is that it pulls from those logged in users. So as I said, we've got 1.9 billion users. So if your user happens to fall in that, it can autofill their name, phone number, and email, or whichever combination of those you choose.
And the main idea is it makes it easier for the user to fill in this information if they're interested in the product or a service that you're offering without going through too many time-consuming steps. Mm-hmm. So it makes life a lot more easier for the user. So in terms of measurement, so measuring what matters to you the most. So a True for Action campaign actually can deliver on a variety of conversions and measurement. So all conversion types, including cross-device, can be measured and optimized. Offline store visits, so advertisers that I work with that have offline locations. So for example, retail, and we see that a lot of retail activity can happen offline as well. So this can be measured as well. And then of course, brand lift. So does your ad or your campaign actually drive consideration, purchase intent, and do users actually remember seeing the ad?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to clarify here, when we are looking at the conversion types, you want to make sure that you're using a Google Ads tag, not Google Analytics. Unfortunately, Google Analytics isn't currently set up to be able to accurately track conversions from YouTube, so please make sure to use a Google Ads tag.
Thanks. So when we're looking at the full value of True for Action, we can already see differences in online conversions. So here in this example, conversions directly from the video itself. So we see about 40% lower CPA and higher click-through rate. So it's a combination of the format itself, which is more interactive, and as well more advanced targeting and bidding methods. Mm-hmm. Then we also see conversions from search, because users that are exposed to True ads, for example, or branding ads, they will make searches. They will search for the products or the brand or the category itself. So we see about 8% increase in search conversion volume itself and higher search conversion rate with more efficient CPAs. Then moving on to brand impact, we see a lift in consideration for the brand or the product, and also lift in purchase intent from these users. So this covers the online part. If you do have an offline location, like a store or chain of stores as well, and if you have Google My Business linked to your Google Ads accounts, you can add location extensions to your True for Action campaign, and it will measure store visits. So we've seen about 70% of YouTube campaigns driving significant lift in offline sales as well. So it's important when you are running True campaigns to fully measure the online and offline impact. So continuing on, we already touched upon this a little bit, but customizing calls to action drives sales and attracts new customers. So an example here was order pizza or anything like that. But
exactly. So here's another example. This one is with a travel brand called Pullmantur. They're a Spanish cruise line. And what they wanted to do was, again, use YouTube to drive sales. And what they did, I think this was a particularly interesting example. They introduced a brand new product to a brand new audience. So they didn't have a ton of information, but they know, like most travel brands, that it's a pretty long path to purchase. So what they wanted to do was shrink that path to purchase, find new customers, and do this with really simple calls to action and getting people to the website to actually give them a call. So what they saw off the back of it was a quadrupled conversion rate and a 50% increase in click-through rates as well. So again, really successful way to drive conversions here.
Perfect. And continuing on, since we're talking about YouTube and a video, a very important aspect in terms of the performance of the campaign itself is the creative. Right? A creative has to be entertaining. A creative has to really get users' attention. So what we've done is we've basically broken down a YouTube creative into 4 main components that it also communicates this new way of how to tell stories in a digital environment or digital medium. So if we look at the top line overview, so an effective creative on YouTube attracts from the start. So users usually have about 5 seconds to skip an ad if they're not interested. And you have 5 seconds to either convince the user that they should continue watching the ad, or almost let the user know if they're not interested, they can skip the ad, and you do not want to then kind of pay for views from these users. Then also creative has to brand naturally and meaningfully. So is this introduced as a solution to a problem, for example, or through benefits, but in a way that still entertains users. Users love brands, and it's finding the right way of communicating that benefit to them. Mm-hmm. Then also connecting with emotion and storytelling, because again, a user has that power to skip an ad if they're not interested. So how can you make the creative connect with the user and keep them interested? And then also directing. So directing the viewer on what to do, because a video creative, there's a lot of things going on. It could be music, visuals, the story arc itself. So it's important to be straight to the point. What the user should do. This could be purchasing, signing up, or finding out more, but being very clear on what the viewer needs to do.
Yeah, and I would say this is probably one of the most important things about advertising. This is an ad. People expect them, for you to tell them to do something. So feel free to direct them and tell them what it is that you want them to do.
Perfect. So what do we do with the creative itself? So if you're starting from scratch, you can use our new directory at youtube.com/ads to contact a YouTube-approved video production partner that can create the right video ad for you. So this could be a self-service platform where you input very simple video assets that you have to a more trained video creative agency that can help put together your narrative and videos. If you do have already some existing assets and you also have a Google Account Manager, do get in touch, because we can do some simple basic editing from existing assets to speed up the pacing or shorten duration of the creative itself. Perfect. So wrapping it up, the video will make up the majority of all internet traffic by 2021. So the question is, will you be there?
Yeah, and YouTube for Action was created for businesses who want users to take action. Video doesn't just have to be about views and impressions anymore. You can use this as a tool to drive action.
And optimize your ads towards your business goals and audience. And YouTube created best practices. So it has to be interesting, and you have to communicate about your business, and then see if users are engaging in the right way.
And that's it for us for today. Hopefully you learned something about YouTube, and be out on the lookout for the next Elevenses. Thanks.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.